I've been hearing just great feedback and experience and all of the above of just the last, 5, 6 weeks now of the program. And so just hopefully you guys are learning a lot about yourself, about running and all of the above, and really taking your fitness and just your entire, just mindset about health and fitness really to the next level. And so tonight, we wanted to kind of change it up a little bit. Our last cohort, we focused on injury prevention and nutrition. And this cohort, we were like, well, let's talk about, okay, so now that you've gone through this training program, so what's next? And sometimes that can be the hardest thing, trying to figure out, okay, now I don't have a trainer, I don't have anybody to check in with. What's next? And so we really want to empower you guys tonight to really start forecasting what's my next step in terms of setting goals, instead of and looking to really set yourself up for success even after the program is over. And so super excited to have Nattalyee tonight. We've partnered with her. I guess it's been how long ago now? Maybe 3 months, on a virtual that she hosted up with our BGR New York City crew. So super excited to have her be a part of tonight. Yeah, and if anything, I'm wishing you guys just a strong finish with the rest of your cohort, and just continue to be confident, be consistent, give yourself grace, knowing that every day is not going to be the best, but as long as you show up, that's half of the battle right there. So feel free to reach out to me for anything that you may need, and super excited again. And thank you for being here tonight. So I will pass it over to Gina to go ahead and get us started.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. I love seeing faces. It's so great. It makes my heart so happy. So it is fabulous to see everyone tonight. I want to congratulate all of you on your progress. And I love the connection that we've really built with this cohort. For those of you that are in the ARC Facebook group, it's just so amazing to see everyone encouraging one another. I mean, that is what this is all about. And, like JL said, give yourselves grace, don't be too hard on yourselves. You're out there moving your body. You should be proud of it. It's so awesome. And so tonight is about that. It's about how we can feel empowered through running, and how we can take that empowerment and do good things in the world. So I am just completely thrilled that Nattalyee is going to speak to us tonight. I want to give you just a quick little background on my connection to Nattalyee. I actually interviewed her on my podcast, the Rise Resolute podcast, a number of months ago, and she was just inspired me so much with her story and all the things that she's doing to affect change in this world. And she even sang for me on the podcast. So if she doesn't sing tonight, she's a performer in New York City too. You have to go listen, because that alone, you guys know I'm a crier. That'll make you cry. But anyway, so I'm super, super excited to have her share her story with you tonight. And so I'm going to turn it over to Nattalyee and start the slideshow. Okay, here we go.
Oh. Hi, everybody. I am Nattalyee Ranzel, and I am a runner and I am an activist. And those two definitely kind of met each other for the first time last year. And this picture is me getting my first, with everything being shut down, we know how races have been, but this is at a Spartan race when I got my first trifecta. For anybody who does Spartan races. And so I was super proud there. And so my running all started about 4 years ago in 2017. Just a little bit about myself. I was over 300 pounds, and my doctor was like, you need to basically lose weight because it's unhealthy. I'm 5'2", 300 pounds. I had just gotten sober. I'm 7 years sober. So if anybody is sober, I have that connection with you. Thank you. So I got sober, and in getting sober, I gained some weight as I started substituting food for alcohol and pills. And so I got to 300 pounds very quickly. And, I was like, well, what do I need to do to lose weight? What should I do? I was pre-diabetic and all this stuff. And so I talked to some friends and they were like, well, you know, obviously if you cut out like the Chinese food and the pizza every day, you'll probably lose weight. And I did. I naturally lost weight just by like cutting out the bad food. But then somebody was like, I was like, I want my stomach to be flat. Like, what do I need to do? And they were like, oh, maybe you should try running. And I'm like, yo, I haven't even run around the block. Like, I don't know how you think I'm gonna run. And I also was just very nervous and embarrassed being bigger. You know, I was like, are people gonna laugh at me, make fun of me? This is stupid. Why am I trying this? But I really wanted at least to get smaller. So I was like, you know what? If you really want to do this, the worst that happens is you run and then, you know, you like pass out, fall out, they have to pick you up, take you to the hospital. Like, okay, whatever. But I was like, I know I'm not going to die if I try. So I was like, okay, let's try it out. And I tried it and it was really hard and miserable. And I hated it. It wasn't like one of those things where I feel like you see in movies, sometimes people fall in love with something immediately. And I was just like, this is dumb. I actually don't know why I'm doing this. But I'll never forget the first time I ran 2 miles straight, like in a row. I ran it. And that was kind of when it clicked, when I actually started enjoying it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the real deal, you know? And so I entered my first 10K. You know, I was kind of training for it. And, you know, I was like, oh, maybe I should do a 5K, but I'm very like go big or go home. So I was like, let's just enter a 10K. If you come in last place, so be it. Just show up. And so I did a 10K and it was fine. I didn't come in last place. You know, I got a medal. We got bagels at the end. And I was like, this actually wasn't that bad. Like I had a good time. And so then fast forward a little bit to me doing my first marathon, which was November 1st, 2019, or November 3rd, excuse me, I believe. I saw people doing like the New York City Marathon and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I really want to get into this. I want to do this, you know? And so I entered the lottery and I was like, if you get into it, you have to do it. And so I got into the lottery and I was like, oh my gosh, like now I have to do this marathon. So I immediately started training that, you know, I think they have the lottery in January and the actual marathon's not till November. So I was like, okay, you know, you have time. It's not like it's tomorrow. So I had basically a year to figure it out, about a year, like nine or 10 months. And so, you know, I started training small with the 5Ks, the 10Ks, 15K, half marathon, you know, and I wanted my first time being a marathon, like running a marathon, to be at the actual New York City Marathon. And running that marathon honestly changed my life in a way that I can't explain. For anyone who has run a marathon or half marathon or anything, it's just when you cross that finish line, when you've been working on that goal, when you set out to do it, it's like, it also restored my faith in New York City and the humanity, because that is the only time when you see people come together, regardless of race, religion, sex, like gender, it doesn't matter. Everybody wants you to complete it. They want you to finish it. And that's like one of the first times I've ever felt super supported. So I did that marathon, and then just kind of going into my activism, you know, I see running as a form of resistance. And so when I started my New York City Marathon journey, I actually started filming a lot of it because I was going to make a documentary, just like a short little film about how the average person can, you know, get up and run a marathon, you know, with training and all that stuff. And so I went ahead and, you know, I did that. But then 2020, we all saw how like the world turned upside down. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I was going to do. So my mom, who is a huge inspiration in my life, sorry that I have you jumping around all over the place. I'm like telling my story, but like the slides.
But no worries. I think I'm doing good. What do you think? I think I've got it.
No, you're totally fine. Okay. Sorry, like, but thank you so much.
Yeah, okay.
This is my wonderful mother. And she was like, you know, you should change your documentary about what's happening right now, like this social justice. And for people who may know Coffee, he does this thing called Running to Protest, where you run to protest. And we ran over the Brooklyn Bridge and it changed my life. And I decided to run 50 miles for 50 people who lost their lives to police brutality. And you want to talk about setting a goal, my God. And that is actually when I teamed up with Black Girls Run, because I wanted to not only run these 50 miles, you know, for people who had lost their lives to police brutality. I wanted to raise money for Black Girls Run. And I also teamed up with 11 other cities who helped raise money for Black Girls Run. And also they did 50 miles. People did relays, people rode their bikes, they skateboarded, people walked. I was like, I don't care how you get to the finish line. I don't care if it takes you 100 days, just get those 50 miles in for those 50 lives. For me, mine was a 1-day situation. I did that on November 1st, this past year, 2020. And the farthest I had run before I did these 50 miles was 33 miles. So I was kind of freaking out because I was like, how am I going to add on 17 more miles, you know? And I'm currently creating this documentary right now, which we're going to be entering into the film festival season this fall. My documentary train was just out here actually last week, wrapping up some stuff. But it was like one of the biggest things I've ever done in my life. And now that leads me to the second biggest thing I'm about to do in my life. And actually it's going to become number one. I'm training to run a 100-miler on June 19th. This will be my first attempt at a 100-mile race. And I'm doing it for 100 people who have lost their lives to police brutality. And, you know, never in a million years did I think I would be an ultra marathoner. Never in a million years did I think I would actually enjoy running. Never in a million years did I think someone who looks like me, this color face, my body type, because I'm still over 200 pounds right now, you know, with COVID and everything. Never in a million years did I think I'd be able to do that. And, you know, through all this COVID stuff, unfortunately, I did lose my mother to COVID in December. And I mean, I could sit here and act like it's been easy, but it has not. It's been very hard, as my mother was my number one supporter. She's the one who changed the trajectory of my my film. And so when it came up time for me to do this 100-miler, you know, I have a running coach I work with now, and he's like, what is your why? Because, you know, at this point, a lot of times people can train, you know, they can train every day. They can be in the best shape of their life, and you know, they've been working so hard and all of this stuff, but he's like, if you don't have a why, you're not going to cross that finish line. And for me, my biggest why is, sorry, I'm gonna get emotional, a little emotional. The biggest why for me is not only for my mother, because like I said, she's my biggest fan. It's also for those lives that have been lost to police brutality. And actually in this picture of those shoes, I ran a marathon for Ahmaud Arbery, and then I retired those shoes. He's also another reason why I continue to run. And those three alone are literally why I will drag myself to that finish line. You know, if you, above all else, you know, just are like, you know, I can't do this. My legs are hurting. My mind's hurting. Like, your body just wants to shut down on you. And a lot of times it's not, you just have to remember the why. And so for me, that's exactly why I'm going to do this. And I know that if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be doing this. And so I just encourage you, you know, when you leave, you know, this meeting, whatever your goal may be, 5K, 10K, 15K, even if it's a mile, it doesn't matter what it is. Just have that why, because that literally will get you over the finish line. And when you set your goals, you know, we have to be realistic about them. I didn't wake up one day and say, I want to run a 100-miler. Like, that would be insanity. But I did wake up one day and say, I want to run a 10K, you know, I want to run a half marathon. I want to run a marathon. It's taken me 4 years to get to this level. And, you know, June 19th, I could get out there, trip and fall, and only run 1 mile. But as long as I know I put as much work as I could leading up to it, and I tried my best, then, you know, I did what I could do. And that's what I have to remind myself. You know, my coach is like, if you get to mile 80 and you physically can't do anymore, then that was what you were supposed to do. And that's okay. If you come in last place, which for this 100-miler, I probably will, but I came in a place. Remember that. Doesn't matter if you're in first or last, you came in a place, because there are people who walked off. There were people who didn't show up. You showed up. So I just encourage you, wherever you're at in your journey, to not give up, because I can't sit here and act like it's been easy. There have been many days I've just literally been sitting crying. It was Mother's Day on Sunday and I was supposed to run 25 miles. And I got to mile 15 and I was just sobbing because I'm like, I don't want to be out here. I want to be with my mom, and I explained that to my coach. And he's like, I'm happy you made 15 miles. That's 15 more than you would have done had you laid in bed. So I thank y'all for letting me share this. And, especially anybody who might be dealing with, heartbreak or anything like that. I also recently lost, one of my best friends to alcoholism. So it's hard, but those people are my why. And I know that they're looking down on me and want me to finish the race. So, set those little goals and build them up. And I will say it one last time, remember your why. So thank you so much.
Nattalyee. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's so empowering to hear, your journey. And I think it's motivation for all of us to keep going. And what I'd like to do, I feel like it's such a great thing for us to share how we feel empowered personally. So I wondered if anyone would be willing to share how you felt empowered through ARC or by running, or something that's lifted you up and made you feel like you can go out and live the life that you want to live and affect change and make a better tomorrow. Would anyone like to share? Go ahead and just unmute and share if you want to share.
Well, this is Janet, I'm in Philly. I had to go back and reread the goals, the Mindful Mondays. And for some reason, this week 2, hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was just all about, learning something new and taking a chance. So I was listening to this podcast and a woman was talking about cisgender and heterosexuals and homosexuals and gender and sexual preference. And I'm like, I don't know any of this language. So I decided that day, which was Mother's Day, that I'm going to embrace that and know the language, know the lifestyle, and bring, a larger group of people into my life. And I would only doing that because ARC has made me more mindful of how I present myself, what I eat, what I buy in the grocery store, how I cook, how I garden, everything. So I'm about to cry now. Nattalyee started this tear thing, but it's been the program has been awesome. It's definitely been life-changing for me.
I love hearing that, Janet. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, I love hearing how everything can shift, when we start to sort of change the way that we go through our days, our day-to-day life. Like every day counts, Anyone else?
I would love to share my story. It's like what she's saying, Nattalyee. I'm really connecting with what you're saying as well. You're saying run through the challenges, run regardless of the challenges. And so for me, I have some physical challenges and then, my age, but it felt like something that I really could not do. And I wouldn't have probably ever gotten up and said, I'm going out and run anywhere, because I couldn't do it physically because of the weight that I gained and because of the issues. But throughout this whole process, I've really been so supported on everything that I may have a weakness, everything that has a challenge. There's like they said, there's an app for that. There's a person for that. There's a support source for that. And it's really been helpful to push me to see that, the things that I thought I couldn't do, even if it's not, and I'm so critical of myself. I'm saying that I'm not running fast enough. I'm not, I feel like I'm kind of walk running, but it just doesn't feel like I'm doing enough. But what you just said, is I'm out there doing it when people could be sitting down watching TV. I'm out here doing it. So if I keep doing it, I feel like I'm going to get better and I'm going to find this point where, I see myself and where I feel like I should be. So, and then to my coach, they tell me, love on yourself, do what you're doing your thing, you're still doing it. And so even though I find it small, I'm constantly encouraging. They make it like it's the biggest thing ever. And so, eventually I'm going to feel that way about it myself. So I just encourage everybody else to keep doing it because, like she said, it is not fun. I don't love it yet, but I want to. And I think that it's best for me because I'm pre-type 2 diabetes. And so I'm willing to do whatever it takes to change my mindset as well as my body. And so I think that's where it all starts, in the mindset. But thank y'all for this program. It's a great opportunity. I'm so glad I was chosen to do it. And it's life changing. So I'm gonna get my marathon. I don't know about 33, 50, 100 miles. Run from 5, but it's
I love that, Deborah. Thank you so much for sharing. I think it's awesome. And you're right. I mean, we all, you face these stumbling blocks and I've heard from a lot of, it's hard. Like you can get down on yourself. And so but the team around you and the connection, and I hope that everyone will stay in touch. Many of the women commenting in the Facebook group are past participants too. And I mean, I just believe that we really have this power to continue building each other up too. So I'm glad that you've had a good experience. Anybody else want to share before I move on?
I'd like to share.
Yeah.
So I know for me, like, so much of what Nattalyee said, like, spoke to me, and she's my coach, so that makes me feel even better. But I know for me, like, I gained a lot of weight and kind of lost myself with stress and life. And I had a stillborn son and then got pregnant right away. And my husband was on deployment and had 3 kids, and it was chaotic. And so after my daughter was, born and here, I, threw myself into like nursing and breastfeeding her. And, a year later, I look at myself and I've gained 85 pounds, and so it was like, okay, like I don't want to look like this. I don't want to be like this. And so it was really important to me to start a journey to lose the weight. And as I started losing weight and getting healthier and trying a bunch of different things, it was like, okay, I want to start running. And it was like, I couldn't even run freaking half a mile. Like I needed to run like, a quarter of a mile and then walk the rest of it because that's all I could do. And so I started with that and was like, I like this. I like running. I suck at it, but I like it. So I'm going to keep doing it. And then COVID hit and I'm like, okay, running is the only way that I can get out of my house away from all these kids. So I'm going to start running. And then I got pregnant and I'm like, oh, great. And so I went to the doctor and the doctor's like, listen, you can't run. You're high risk. You can't run. And then I miscarried. And this summer when I miscarried, I was like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not giving up again. Like I refuse to, like just give up and wallow and let gaining weight, be the result of this. And so that's when I really got serious. I think by then, like I was like from 250 to maybe like 220 when I miscarried. And I was like, I'm going to keep running. So I kept running and now I'm about 170, which is amazing. I've lost 80 pounds. I've lost all that I had gained and some. I feel great about my body. And I love the reminders. I started running with BGR shortly after my miscarriage and it pushed me, like having the camaraderie, the people that will say like, keep going. And my goal is to run a half marathon. I'm not trying to ever be at that marathon level. I just want to run one half marathon to say I did it and I'm going to do it. And I love that. Like, I love it. Like, okay, you can do this. And I never, like literally a year ago, oh gosh, Natalie's saying don't ever say never. I don't know what's going to happen. But a year ago, I was literally like, I was running, it took me like 35 minutes to run 2 miles. Like it was like 17-minute miles. And this weekend, it was time for my 7-mile run. And I was able to do like every mile in under 13 minutes. Like I finished my 7 miles in less than an hour and a half. And so for me, like since I've been running with BGR, like my first BGR, I will never forget. They all waited for me. I was like, oh my God, y'all are gonna wait for me. It took me 65 minutes to run 4 miles. Like now I run 4 miles and it's like 40 something minutes. And it's such an improvement. Like to see my 5K time go from 57 minutes to 33 minutes has been amazing for me. Like it's the one thing that I can track, like, and I'm doing it just for me, just for my health, just to show my kids, like type 2 is very prevalent in my family and to show them like, we don't have to continue this. So that's what I love. Like, I feel empowered to be better than I've ever been.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's awesome. And I know that Nattalyee may inspire you to go further than your intended distance. Jasmine, did you want to share also? Were you getting ready to share?
Oh, yes, I was. Sorry, I'm not on camera. I'm headed to the airport. I have a flight that I'm probably going to miss, but sorry, I'm not on camera, but I just wanted to share my experience is a little bit different going into week 6. I'm a person that naturally, historically, I would push myself physically all day, no problem. I enjoy extremes very much in adrenaline rush activities. And if I felt like I could not push myself, I'm the crazy person that'll sign up for an ultra marathon, have no idea what the hell I'm doing and do it just for the sheer thrill. This experience so far for me has been huge on me mentally. The daily text messages and check-ins that I get from Mona and Rachel, Coach, really shed a light for me on how unkind I've been to myself. And so, when JL mentioned earlier today about extending grace in everything that you do and give yourself some grace, for me, I'm naturally a cheerleader. So it's so easy for me to cheer someone on, to be in the comments, to call them, to pray for them, to be with them. And this experience so far has showed me how unkind I have been to myself. And it's crazy. When I first noticed it, I thought that I just had a bad day. And it wasn't because of my physical ability. My running has been on par and everything's been great. But the mindfulness challenges really resonate with me as a mother and as a wife and as a person. And I just really I realized how much I neglected the mental aspect of taking the time to slow down, to be present in the spaces that I'm in, and give myself 100% attention. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of the program. Running for me comes a little bit easier. So I appreciate where everybody's coming from. I didn't really connect with that. I really connected on a mental level of just, it really opened my eyes to how unkind I had been to myself. So I appreciate that. For a little color, for example, I was super pissed. I failed my RRCA coach test. Like, I failed it the first time, and I just failed it again last night. And I was freaking pissed because I had tried so hard, and I was so frustrated. But I had to go back to my notes that I've been writing for Mindful Monday. Okay, then pay again and take the test again and move on. And all that encouragement that I give out to my friends, my family, the universe, why can't I give that to myself? So these past 6 weeks have really pushed me to pay attention to myself. So I appreciate all of it.
Thanks, Jasmine. You made me get cheered up too. I'm not trying to hold it together. What I do want to say, keep going with that RRCA. I'm a physical therapist. I'm not gonna ever be a coach, but I've heard it's a bear. So just keep going. It's a tough one. Anybody else want to share before we move on?
Yes, this is Katina. I want to share from another angle too. I'm just like a busybody, just gotta do something all the time, all day. So this program has really taught me the importance of rest day. So I went back and forth with my coach, India. I was like, what do you mean I have to give you 2 days of rest? That's 2 days of doing nothing. Why? Why do I have to do that? And so week 2, it really hit me, and I changed my mindset about rest day. And now when rest day comes, I take my shower, I rest well, at night, the night before rest day, and I get up and my mind is just clear. I'm more focused. And so now I'm not fighting rest day. I appreciate rest day.
I love it. It's so important, and I'm glad that that was something that you took away. So great. Joanne, were you going to comment as well? Okay, anybody else who wants to pop in, now's your time.
I'm sorry, here I am. I
Okay.
muted myself and was talking. So this is Joanne from Boston, and I have to say that everything resonates with me, and I resonate with the busybodiness because I'm not a person who likes to stay still. And I resonate with the challenges of not being kind to myself because I'm a giver by nature and I love to pour into people. And I have to say this program has really helped set up consistency and discipline for me. I don't personally like running. I've let my coach know I don't like running, but I am going through a period of transition in my family that is extremely painful to deal with. And I can't always sit in my feelings and see a therapist and whatever. So I decided that, you know what, I got to channel this stuff somehow, and running will be my outlet because it's just me, it's the pavement, it's the air, I'm breathing, I'm doing everything that I can do to take care of myself so that I can take care of my children once I transition into the next chapter of our lives. And so I have been internally grateful for this program. It is, I'm a type A personality, so everything has to be in order. Everything has to be done in a certain way. And this program sets that up for me because I know which days are my rest days, when am I running, when am I doing my cross training and whatever. But it's also helped me to realize that I'm just as important as everybody else that I pour into. I am equally as important as my children, my parents who I'm caregiver for, because I can't pour out of an empty cup. And the running for me has actually brought me back to Joanne, not Joanne the mom, not Joanne the daughter, not Joanne the office manager, the executive assistant, the organizer, the this, that, and the other. It's just me by myself. And for me, so long I have put other people ahead of me that I have even forgot what I like, what I enjoy, what I don't like. I just forgot how to be me. And so through the mindfulness exercise, just through the running, I'm rediscovering myself. I'm rediscovering who I am and what do I want in my next chapters. And I have to give a little praise report. As I said before, I don't like running, but I do it because it clears my mind and it helps me sleep better. Yesterday was probably the first time that I ran 20 minutes. So that's about a mile, 0.4, nonstop. I have never done that before. I've done a few 5Ks and whatever, but I have never done that before. And the first thing I did was, I texted my girlfriend who's also a ultra marathoner, and I text my coach and said, hey, I can't believe I just did this, like 20 minutes. I've gone through a Baker's cyst. I have tendonitis in my hammies and whatever, but I was able to do 20 minutes fairly consistently, making sure I had all the proper form and kind of talking through in my head. And it was just such a great, rewarding experience to know that I can do this. I'm bottom heavy. I'm not shaped like a marathoner. I'm small and petite, but I'm thick. So they call me like slim thick. And so to be able to do that, and I told my little boys, you can't believe what mommy just did. Mommy just ran 20 whole minutes nonstop, and how proud of that they were of me. So and again, eternally grateful for this program. Glad I was selected because it was truly a last minute thing. But I am getting so much more than just mechanics of running and the how to breathe and my foot placement and all that. It's the mental for me. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Joanne. And that's, that's the whole sort of approach that we take, is this well-rounded approach to give you all the tools. And I just love hearing that you're getting in touch with who you are. And like, we as moms, it's hard sometimes to remember who we are inside, and that, that you're empowered to feel more vibrant, and the example you're setting for your kids too. Dr. Heidi, were you going to comment as well?
Yeah, I was so excited. Look what I got in the mail. Can y'all see?
Yeah.
That's Nattalyee. That's Nattalyee on the cover. Look, wait, hold on. Can you see? Okay, so I'm not homeless. I just got off from work. So I'm in my car, because if I don't call in, it'll be gone. And so what I've gotten out of this is the sensation of this wonderful Black woman on the cover of a magazine, who's actually my running coach. And that just makes everything surreal. It just echoes and personifies what happens in May during National Women's Mental Health Month. It just resets the stereotype about seeing us on the cover of a magazine, which is, most of the inside still doesn't look like us. But it was just such a joy, and it came from one of my club members. I'm in another running club, which is, and only 2 Black people in that running club. And one of my running members, she said, "I have that. You can have it." I was like, "I want it." So anyway, that's my excitement. Because I probably sound like a screeching siren, but that was my excitement to see my running coach on the cover and go, "I know that person." So that's what my takeaway has been. I'm glad week 6 is here. Today I finished 10 miles for a virtual, and I actually ran 6 of the 10. So I'm just stepping up my game at the age of 50 and looking forward to what happens in week 7 and week 8.
I love it. I know we loved seeing Coach Nattalyee on the cover. I mean, it was amazing. So thank you for sharing. And I love all your positivity in the Facebook group too. It's so awesome. Did anybody else want to share? Okay, let's move to the next slide. Okay, so what we want you to do at this point, everyone who's listening right now and will listen later, is to make sure that you take this energy that you feel right now, and that you use it to as a foundation to set goals going forward. We don't want this to be the end. ARC is the foundation, and you have BGR, and going forward, what goal will you set next for yourself? The quote on the side here is from Nattalie's feed. I just love it. "If I see you running, I don't care if you're big, small, slow, fast, in shape, out of shape, obese, or skinny. If you're running, I'm rooting for you." And I think that's a really awesome mantra. I wanted to remind everyone of the SMART goals that you made in the beginning of this program. I'm interested to know how they might change now that you've almost completed the program. But remember, when you're setting goals for yourself, when if you're just starting out, like we were saying, you don't start out saying that you want to run 50 miles or 100. You make a goal that's specific, that's measurable, that's attainable, that's relevant, and that's time-based. And what I would encourage you to do as well is to consider making a goal that brings you joy, that makes your heart happy, that taps into who you are. And so we want you all to make a plan for the future as you exit the program. I'd like to give everyone just a second to maybe brainstorm one SMART goal they might have. It would be great if anybody wants to share if they have something in mind. I think someone was saying they're going to try to run a half marathon. Does anyone else have a SMART goal in mind that is measurable and attainable, that they would like to share with the group? Okay, so I want you all to brainstorm the goals. And I know it sounds silly, but it's one of those other ways that we can use our intention to, propel us forward and keep going after you exit the program. A couple other questions that I want you to, consider and ask yourselves. what is the best way for you to stay accountable? We, all of us at the ARC team, we're committed to continuing to support you all. So if you need support from your physical therapist or your mentor or your coach, please reach out even after you've completed the program. But also consider, who you can, who will keep you accountable. Maybe it's yourself, maybe it's your friend, maybe it's, your BGR running group. Who is your support system? How will you stay connected? Please consider joining the ARC Facebook group if you have not already. It's a joy and a pleasure, and I love seeing everyone's run and running successes, and everything in between. And then, like Nattalyee said, when it comes to running, make sure that you have a why, because that's going to help you stay motivated and engaged and continue setting goals for yourself, because that's what it's all about. This is a growth process. And I'll one more time ask if anyone has a goal they'd like to share, any other feedback before we look to wrap up.
I would say my goal is to eat clean for 3 days in a row.
Nice.
There are things that look at me in the grocery store that don't belong in my basket, but they end up at my house. So if I can just eat clean 3 days in a row, that's my goal for this week.
Okay, Andrea? Oh, I don't think we can hear you.
A goal for me. Oh, a goal
Go
for
ahead.
me.
I think you
Oh,
can go.
sorry, I don't know. So, yeah, a goal for me. Just keeping it smart and attainable, especially as I come up with this 100-milers. That's a huge goal for me. I do think this one actually will be a one and done when I complete it. Need to speak that into existence. But as I work towards that right now, nutrition is a huge thing. I ran a marathon once, and like I said, I'm very all or nothing, and I've only not completed a race once, and it was because I did not have enough nutrition. I did not eat enough, so that is huge for me. And so before I do my runs, like even right now, I'm not hungry, but I know I need to eat so I can actually run tomorrow. So just sticking to my nutrition plan and actually eating enough and not under eating, because I want to be able to complete it and feel strong.
It's crazy. I can't hear you.
Oh, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I'm not sure. I've just been having a host of technical difficulties on the Zoom. So for me, I wanted to share that when you were talking about the SMART goals, in my case, I found that I had to reassess what my goals will be as it relates to running in the short run, and also within the program, because I have a high risk of exercise-induced anaphylaxis. And so I've already had one shock before, and I'm managing quite a bit of disappointment because I thought I would have been able to run more effectively with the program, and that hasn't proven because I also hurt my knees maybe in about week 2, and it hasn't been the same since. So for me, I'm trying to balance that, giving my body the time to heal itself, against the fact that I have to manage what is a safe distance for me to work with. And so the program has been amazingly supportive, and it's been really great. I'm very grateful to be participating because I'm a type A person, and it's been very hard for me to manage the disappointment because I thought by now I would definitely be running 6 miles and just having a ball. And I'm still dealing with the icky stuff about running. And unlike probably most people, I'm actually a runner who's returning to running after a very long period of having an absence. So I think part of it is the the mind-body connection is like knowing what I was capable of. And now trying to balance what my body can do now. So I think for me, my SMART goals now have to be smarter. And so now I'm hoping that I can just safely run a 5K at the end of all of this, because after speaking with my allergist, we think that that's the best approach right now, is to not go past that and try to settle out for a good period before I try to extend beyond that, even when my knees feel better. So
yeah,
I just wanted to share that.
I love this. And I think you make a great point about, always making sure that we adjust our, our perspective a little bit and that we're flexible with ourselves. I think setting a rigid goal sometimes causes us to be hard on ourselves. And so, I think that that's great feedback. And I am so proud of you for all that you have done, because you were afraid to exercise before this. And you are doing so great. I'm so proud of you. So give yourself grace and be very proud. SB, were you going to comment? I thought I saw you unmute.
Could I say one last thing before we move on?
Sure.
Because I don't believe a lot of people are aware of what exercise-induced anaphylaxis is. And I think in the running community, especially amongst women who are it doesn't matter whether you're starting out or not. And I would just encourage you to learn a little bit about it, because basically what it means is that by the actual activity of exercising can make your body go into an anaphylactic shock. And so you could actually save somebody else's life if you become aware of what some of the symptoms are. And some people might have even experienced some things and not realize it could be an allergic issue happening with their bodies. So for anybody on the call, I would just, on your own time, because we might be able to save somebody else's life, especially if you run with a group or you see another runner in distress. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Great feedback. I know we're getting close up to completing the master's class. SB, go for it.
Oh, I was going to say my goal is still to run a full marathon, but I'm still struggling with pain. And right now I'm like, am I taking on too much? So I'm probably going to reach out to you, Gina, on that. But it's been a struggle trying to run consistently and then having life happen. And so my battle is really, am I struggling between giving myself grace and or am I being lazy? So I've had some death in the family. I've had some illness. I've been traveling. So, and work is very busy. So that's been kind of like the battle. And then if I miss a one, do I double it up? But nonetheless, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to participate in all that I've learned, with the group, and even just the encouragement, hearing other people other than my small local BGR group about running and, people doing the same thing. So it makes me feel like I'm not the only one in the battle.
Yeah. Jasmine, you're unmuted. Did you want to talk?
Oh, I was just going to say, my travel schedule, my work schedule, my mom's schedule, my wife's schedule is like insane. But the one realistic SMART goal that I wanted to share is I'm going to dedicate at least an hour and a half a day to focus on my mindfulness. Fortunately, my schedule, the only bad thing I've done is a couple of rest days that Rachel gave me, I ran. So I'm going to stop doing that. But my SMART goal would be holding myself accountable to spending that hour to hour and a half with myself to get the mind-heart connection, because I think my body's on autopilot a little, but I'm not sure if anybody else is that way. So I just wanted to share. And then I saw something earlier today that kind of inspired me. It was a meme or whatever, and it said, sometimes your rock bottom can be your trampoline, and I freaking love that. So I just wanted to share that with y'all before we hopped off.
Thanks so much. Well, it's been a joy hearing from everyone, and continue providing this feedback, whether you're in the Facebook group or on Instagram or whatever. The encouragement is great, and hearing everyone's perspective is just, it's so helpful and essential. And I'm so happy that all of you are sticking with it on this journey. Super proud of you all. Reach out to me if you have pain symptoms. Even if I'm not your PT, I'm happy to help. And Nattalyee, thank you for sharing your awesome story and for inspiring us all. Man, I want to hear about this 100 miles. Woo! And yeah, and JL, I'm wondering if you have any closing comments as well. Okay, maybe not. All right, everyone, thank you so much for being here. I will be ending the meeting now, but I really appreciate each of you very much. So I wish you all lots of running success over the next couple weeks, and I thank you for being a part of ARC. We cherish you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Gina.
Thanks, Adina. Bye, everyone.